Hey guys, welcome to Breaking Through Addiction. Just a few things. We got Rick on waiting now. It looks like he's ready to go. I hope he can hear us. Good to see you, Chris. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Doing absolutely great. So welcome to the show, guys. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor. Along with Kristen Nolan, my assistant, stroke co-host, stroke more important than me. The co-host doesn't sound good, does it? Co-host. I guess, yeah. So my week's been good, guys. Just doing the normal stuff, working away. San Antonio, Texas, we're coming live from today, and it's sunny outside, about 75 degrees at the moment. It's probably going to warm up later on. I hope you had a fantastic week, guys, just like us. What have you been up to this week, Chris?
I went to the celebration of life for my dad last Saturday, and it was beautiful. And I've gotten back into my fitness regimen, so I'm super excited about that. I battled with that for like 2 months. You know, the disease was, I was battling with it in my mind, and finally I went. And it's just been great. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, good. Guys, we've got Rick Pimenta on the show, and we've also got David Ludlow. He'll be joining us shortly. But yeah, let's get straight into it. We got Rick waiting for us, so stick around, guys. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the show, guys. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, and along with Kristen Nolan, this is Breaking Through Addiction, coming to you live on YouTube and Facebook, and then a bunch of sites tonight. Welcome to the show. Glad you can be here. There's already viewers joining us straight away. Rick Pimenta, how you doing, Rick?
Hey, how you guys doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, loud and clear. Awesome. Just put your camera up a little bit so we can see your face. I'll tilt it back. There you go. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Get the good stuff.
Guys, me and Rick know each other. We met, I don't know, about a year and a half ago in a meeting, a 12-step meeting. And the moment I heard him share and vice versa, we knew he was on the same page. So fantastic story, fantastic leadership, sponsors a load of people. Knowledge is unbelievable. So welcome to the show, Rick. It's good to have you, my man.
Thank you.
I want to start at the early days. I want to go back to where I know it was alcohol with you, and of course we like drugs as well, but alcohol. Tell the viewers and the listeners where it all started for you.
When I was 6 or 7 years old, I used to sit on my grandfather's knee, and my sister would sit on the other knee, and he gave us each a pair of tweezers, and we would pull the little gray whiskers out of his chin, and he would offer us a choice of either a nickel or a sip of the foam or a sip of his beer. So my sister chose the nickel and I chose the beer. I loved it. So she got rich and I got drunk. Wow. And that was the first thing. Of course, I didn't know anything about, alcoholism or anything then. And neither did he. He was a daily drinker. He drank every night. He would come home and he would drink 1, maybe 2 beers a night. That was it, just to take the edge off. And so every night I would sit there, and then after I got past the foam, I couldn't wait to get to the taste of alcohol. I remember tasting it and being, wow, this stuff is bitter. But I loved it. I loved it. That was my first introduction to it.
Mm-hmm. We hear that a lot about the true alcoholic, the real alcoholic. They'll take one little sip or something like that, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So Rick, what's your sobriety date?
January 14th, 1999.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I hear you were a military brat.
Yeah. My dad was in the Army at first. He served with Elvis Presley, of all people, at Fort Hood, Texas. And then after he did his time, he did 2 or 3 years in the Army. Then he got out of the Army. He went to the Air Force. And so we moved from there to Killeen. It was kind of funny. The little clinic that the typical alcoholic, right? The little clinic that I was born in is now a dog hospital. So it's like, oh no. So I was born in a dog hospital.
Wow.
And so then we moved from there to San Antonio. That wasn't a typical military family that traveled all over the world. My dad went all over the world, but he was stationed permanently here in San Antonio.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And you've been here ever since, obviously. And
Yeah, I've been here. Of course, I moved to California, then back here, then to Virginia, back here, Florida, back here, stuff like that. Yeah, trying to find my way.
So
Yeah.
regarding the alcoholism, give me your worst time that you can imagine when I know we have loads, but give me one specific time that you look back now and go, oh my God.
Let me tell you that's it's kind of a almost a double-edged sword. I was talking to someone about this yesterday and this morning. Somebody called me and we were talking about what was our worst time, and my worst time was after I had gone to my first meeting, and I didn't really take it too seriously, but they told me that my life was gonna never be the same, and they were true. It was true, and that was that I was trying to get sober without a solution. I didn't know what the answer was, and I couldn't figure it out. For 19 years, I had tried and tried and tried. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. That was worse than being homeless. That was worse than being drunk and waking up out of a blackout. That was worse than anything that I could have ever imagined. And trying for all these years to get sober, not knowing what the answer was. And it literally took a toll on me physically, emotionally, spiritually, and it eventually brought me to my knees. And of course, the other things have happened, but that would have to be the worst part of it for me.
And the second half of that question was, what's the best time in recovery you've ever had?
Oh, it's the day that that I had. I came to out of a blackout, and I was standing in a room, and I remember saying, "Dear God, I don't want to die. Dear God, I don't want to die." And I said that twice, and I turned around and I looked behind me, and the little phone, the rotary phones that we used to have those days, I had a little sticker on it that said, a blue and white sticker that said Alcoholics Anonymous, call if you need help. And so I called that number, and that number went to the police station. And then from the police station, they patched it into a little guy sitting in a little office in a basement answering phones for AA. And then that guy called somebody, and that guy came by and picked me up and took me to detox. And I knew it was going to be different, and I knew everything was going to be okay. And as funny as that may sound, and it really was. There was I had a sense of relief, like I was rescued. And these guys had came in to see me, and they sat me down. There were 3 of these guys, and they sat me down, and basically they told me, "Hey, listen, we're here to get you sober." And I remember thinking to myself, "I don't think so." And but they sat me down, and they started telling me a little bit about themselves and how they recovered. And the first thing I remember hearing that made a big that it was just a big meaning in my life at that time was the word recovered, because no one had ever said that to me. And I thought to myself, you mean you can recover from this stuff? And I believe that's what it was. And it kind of grew from there, and everything was going to be okay. And it really was. And from that point on, from that day on, my life was different, and it's just been wonderful ever since.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Rick, I read your bio, and there was, believe it or not, your bio and how you described just little things that you said actually is probably the most like me that I've seen so far. You said that you've always been an underachiever, and that you always got bored easily, and that is me. That is me. And I'm wondering, why do you think that is? Because I always thought as an ADD, like attention deficit. What is it exactly that we can't stick with something and commit to something and follow through? Why do you think that is?
I think it's because we're just smart. That we have. There's a lot of common sense that goes with some of the things that we have. They used to tell me, did you know that an alcoholic can use 30% of their faculties and can outsmart a normal person who's using 80% of theirs? And I you know what, that's kind of true. I never really had to study really hard. It's just common sense stuff. And whenever there was a test or something in school, they used to tell me, you better study for that test. Yeah, I know, I will, I know. The day before, I would briefly read a little bit of the stuff that was there. I'd go in and take the test and come out with flying colors. Can't explain it. It's just the way it was. It's just, I just look at the answer and I'm like, or the question, and I would be, well, this is what makes most sense to me. And that's how I did it. And I don't believe it's luck, because if it was luck, that's a real long streak of luck, you know? So, but there were some things that the natural sitting in a classroom and listening to a lecture and doing this kind of work and that kind of work and reading these books, to me, it had to really, really capture my attention. And so I was drew to history and math. And I love history, and I think I love history because I was able to transform myself mentally to where they were back in that time, and then math I liked it because it gave me a challenge to trying to figure something out, and I like those two. All the other stuff was like, well, whatever.
So when it comes to alcoholism as a whole, we all know on here that there's a lack of knowledge out there and understanding. What would you like to see differently when it comes to the general public knowing about alcoholism?
There are so many different things that you know. I wish I would really like to have people have a better understanding of what it really is, and I wish I could like wave a magic wand and say a part of your life growing up is going to be you're going to take let's take a little class on alcoholism so that you can find out what it might save your life or a family member's life or something like that. And the perception of what people see that I talk to is the lack of understanding, because they just don't know what alcoholism really is. You know, why does he do that? Why can't he just stop? I don't understand why does he do these things? Every time we turn around, we help him. He says he's going to quit. And then the next day we're having to get him out of jail or pick him up off the side of the road somewhere or to get his car towed. And I don't understand why he does that. And I just wish that people would have a better understanding and I think that a lot of that has to do with us and us going out and getting involved in the community. And you know, sometimes we're kind of afraid. This is really crazy. We're looking for an answer ourselves, and we go out and we find this answer, and we've already lived our life, and we tore up our lives and other people's lives and been arrested and made fools of ourselves. And we come into AA, we want to hide that, and we want to hide the solution. We're afraid to go out and tell people what works. And I don't understand that, and I'm not that kind of a person. I don't mind people must say, hey, you just told that guy that you're in recovery. Yeah, so you know, and I don't have any problem with that. I mean, obviously I can't tell them that you are, but I can sure as heck tell them that I am, because you never ever know. And you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people I've had bosses call me from jobs I used to have and hey, can you come down and talk to me? I have an employee that's suffering from alcoholism, or they don't even call it that. They just say he keeps getting drunk. And because they don't understand, and he's the best employee we have, and he knows all about this and the computers and this and that. Can you please come down and help us talk to him, or if you can at least just talk to him? And I've done that many times, and then to go back and have to give the assessment to the employer and have the employer sit there and look at me like, what? You know, so it's just a better understanding.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I love that. So I want to ask you another question, but before we get into that, I want to ask you about psychic change. But before I do that, guys, if anyone's wondering what a psychic change is, it's the terminology that the guys in Alcoholics Anonymous used when they wrote the book, which is called Alcoholics Anonymous. We had a fellowship of that book. So it's basically what we found out later on. It's a neural pathway change or redevelop and further neural pathway. In case you can't vision that, here's a clip. Now, that is a new thought pattern. new neural pathways are thought patterns that we create when we do anything new. So if I don't know how to sew or knit, for instance, and my wife teaches me, new neural pathways are built around that. And that's how the memory is consistent and holding so many things. If neural pathways are not used for a certain thing, then they kind of get a little bit stale. They don't work as good. So you go to England for a year and you come back, it's going to take you a few hours or days to get used to the left-hand wheel on the right side of the road. It's that kind of thing. So repetition and strengthen and confirms in our industry is very, very important. But I want you, Rick, to explain why in that big book does it say that it's vital that we have a psychic change?
Oh my God, the same man's going to drink again. And that it's kind of cool that you showed that, because I explain that to the guys when I'm talking with them and when I'm working with them, and I bring them on and basically in a nutshell, to tell them that you're going to have to become more different than you've ever become in your life. And when we talk about everything has to change, the book talks about the deportment, and we need to change every aspect of your life: the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you look, how you approach people. Are you approachable? How you talk to people. What about the tone in your voice? What do you think of other people? And some of the stuff that I talk to the guys about is like, okay, so we've gone out, we've done all this stuff, and you made all these amends, and and everything's going good. Let's talk about the things that you think about other people. Well, I don't want to go talk to that guy because I think he's a jerk. Really? So if you think he's a jerk, how have you assassinated him in your head? Yeah, I've said this and thought that. Let's talk about that. Now we're going to go make amends to that person for that. What? So what part of the book don't you understand? And that's what they did with me. So I had to go make amends to people for what I thought about them.
Wow.
Yeah. And these are old school guys, and I loved it. So the people that I get a chance to work with, actually it's a privilege. It's an honor to do these things. And I sit them down. I said, these are, because the book talks about that in step 11. And we're going to go out and we're going to start in step 10 too as well. And we're going to start talking about clearing the being on a higher plane, right? So when our thought life is cleared up of all bad motives, if you will, then everything else is going to straighten out on itself. So early on, they used to tell me, I want you to examine all of your motives. Everything that you think of, I want you to examine that. And then, and you're going to carry that with you for the rest of your life. And I was like, holy crap. And when I first got sober, I didn't have a car. So I would walk from where I was, it took me about an hour. So I would walk from the house to the meeting, and the only thing I thought about was, what was it that I thought about the night before about a person? What was it, or an idea, or am I still holding prejudices? How do I change that? How do I get rid of those things? What do I really want? Why did I really think that? Knowing that the things that I think are the things that I'm going to do. And I was tired of doing the things I was doing. So I had to change my thinking. And wow. And then come to pass later on when I met Dr. Rob we were talking about all the neural pathways and things like that. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, these guys were talking about this stuff back in the 30s. Jesus, Jiminy. So where did we lose our way? So I think that the whole thought process, knowing what we know now, is just so important to sobriety, and there's a difference in sobriety and recovery. Mm-hmm. So I like to sit down and talk to the guys about all that kind of stuff too. Just because you get sober doesn't mean that it's over. There's still so many things that we have to change and we have to carry with us. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I said, don't forget now, everybody's watching you. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, everybody's watching you, man. You the way you walk, the way you talk when you come in here. What kind of entrance do you make? Oh, I used to love to walk out of a room and slam the door. That way everybody knew it was me. Right? So I don't have to do that today. Today, I like to walk in a room. One of the beautiful things about recovery, and especially with the group, this one group that I'm in, and as when we walk in there is like cheers. Everybody knows your name. Yeah, there you go. BYOBB. Everybody knows your name. Hey, how you doing, Rick? Hey, this, that, and all this other kind of stuff. And everybody pitches in. Everybody helps. It's a family. If one guy is having a problem, then we're all going to have a problem. Then we all sit down. We all trying to find a solution, a common solution for that. I think that's just so cool. That's beautiful. It's old school way. I love it. I love it.
I love it too. I love how thorough your program is, because it's so funny, because there's times throughout my day, like we're taking inventory of ourselves, and throughout my day, I'll think something and I'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry I thought that way. I'm so sorry that crossed my mind, because we're not supposed to judge and all these things. And, it's human nature. We're still human. Yeah. So it happens. But, I love that your sponsor made you go make amends for your thoughts about someone. That is so cool.
I didn't like it at first. I didn't like it at first. One of the cool things that my lineage goes all the way back to Clarence Snyder. And so I had my sponsor, then my grand sponsor. My grand sponsor was sponsored by Clarence Snyder. And some of the things that I learned from those guys. And, after we have done the 6 and 7 step, that's the cleanest we are. God has forgiven us for everything. We are now, I guess, in a sense, you could say we're pure. Everything has been wiped clean. The problem is, how are we going to keep it that way? How are we going to stay that clean? How are we going to stay squeaky clean, that pure? And it's almost impossible, because we're humans, right? So what do? So they gave us a way out, and they gave us the step 10. Right? So every time we go out, we make a mistake. What do? So we go back out and we do the 10 step, which is a personal inventory, not a moral inventory. So those are that's the way out that we have. And it's hard to do. It really is hard to do, especially early on. But it was a lot of work. I like it. I love it.
So here's the question. We know that in the early days, the percentage of Alcoholics Anonymous was around 95%. 100% in Akron. Yeah. They reckon it's between 5 and 10% today. What went wrong?
The message, I think one of the best ways I heard it was, we had this big net, and AA throws this big net out, and instead of keeping the 5 or 8 or 10 or 15% of us that are the real thing, AA decided to keep everything, and instead of throwing the other stuff back out. And so I think we stopped qualifying the alcoholic when they first came in, and the message changed, and all of a sudden now we have all these people that are in there that are sponsoring people, and they don't have anything or the tools or even the experience, the psychic change, the spiritual experience that real alcoholic needs. And you can go into any group and you can tell who's the real one, who's a real alcoholic and who's not. And some of the things I used to love to hear was, I'm an alcoholic if I say I am. No, you're not. And well, we're going to take steps, but they get upset and they get, pissed off about that. And it's like, well, just because you're upset doesn't mean you're right. And so, knowing what I know now, I fell into that category of we're going to fix everything and everyone. And then when I got sober this last time, like these cats, they sat me down and they said, we're going to qualify you, make sure that you're in the right room, Rick, because you might not belong here. I thought to myself, holy crap. And it took about an hour and a half, and they qualified me. And one of the guys reached over and he looked over at me and he said, welcome, you're one of us. And I was like, thank God, what do I got to do to get started? And they said, well, you're going to do it exactly the way we did it, and it's exactly by the book. We're not going to do it your way, Rick. And I was all for it, whatever they wanted me to do. So I think AA buckled. And Bill Wilson in 1958, and you can YouTube it, said that if AA is ever destroyed, it's going to be destroyed from within. And it's because we just let everything come in, and the message has become watered down. And the other big thing I think it is crappy sponsorship, and I wholeheartedly believe that.
Rick, so would you say that it's maybe a lack of following traditions, or keeping it old school like it used to be?
What are we really here for? Who are we really here for? We're here for the chronic alcoholic whose last hope is to have a spiritual experience and a relationship with God. Period. So we have people that come in that don't have to have that. They can get sober, they can get dry, but they don't have to have a spiritual experience. They don't have to have a relationship with God. And if I'm going to depend, if I'm an alcoholic that has to have that in order to live and to change my life, and I'm going to depend on somebody that doesn't, what do we have? Now I'm not getting the things that I absolutely need. And then I'm going to turn around later on after I get drunk and I'm going to say, I tried AA and it didn't work. You know, and why is because I listened to the person that comes in here that came in before I did, who didn't have to have a spiritual experience. All he does is just go to a lot of meetings because it's a social event to him. And he sits in the corner, he talks about this stuff. The new person comes in and hears, oh, he's got 50 years of sobriety. Well, that must be the right way to do it. But then they can't understand, if they're the real alcoholic, why their lives aren't getting any better. If you're the real alcoholic and you take the booze and the alcohol away, your life gets worse. It always does, unless you fill it with that spiritual God thing. You fix the spiritual malady. And there are a lot of people out there that just don't depend on that. They don't have to have that. And that's I hate that.
Key. There's the key. I love it. They don't have to have that.
Yeah.
You know? And I see it all too many times. You know, the guy in the room with 50 years, as you say, the guy who doesn't really do any work, doesn't sponsor anybody, shouts about the book and quotes wrong things out the book because they heard it off a friend of his or his sponsor or something. They're the guys in AA that I don't really like, because, you know, how many people have been killed with their fancy lines and sponsorship? That's the bottom line. And what do we know when we go in? We see this guy with 50 years of sobriety and go, yeah, I want that. But what you got to look at is, he may be sat there now in 50 years. What's his life like? How many people has he helped? When's the last time he gave $10 to starving person? When's it, you know, they don't do that. And then we go in and see these guys and go, well, that's what I've got to look forward to. And the guy will share now and again, oh, it's been a bad day today. Shut up.
Yeah.
Jeez, what the hell are you? What? It's not, you know, this is the deal in the meetings that I used to go to. It's not your job to come here and dump your shit.
Right.
That's why God gave us sponsors. It's not your deal to come in and tell war stories. That's why God gave us doctors. You know, it's your job to either come in, shut up and sit down and listen, or share experience, strength, and hope. And hopefully one day someone will stumble off the streets when he's just about to blow his fucking head off and listen to somebody who has recovered from the homeless state of mind and body, who shares from the heart and gives him hope that he can do this. And that's basically what I live for. And I know you do too, as Rick, is let's carry this message. Final question, because we've run out of time, unfortunately. Sorry, guys, we started late today. It was 10 after. We had some technical issues. Is how important is a spiritual or spirituality with a program that somebody wants to do to stop drinking?
Oh my God. It's the one main ingredient. Without it, I mean, that's like trying to make sugar cookies without sugar, you know. And so the one of the things that happened with me when I was working with my sponsor, and this is all early on, and I remember him asking me, do you believe in God? And I said yes. This was on step 2, and I said yes. He goes, okay, we're not gonna have another word about it. We're done with it. We're not gonna write about it or none of that stuff. Let's go straight into step 3. Went straight into step 3. Are you willing to have that God that you say you believe in be a part of your life today? I said yes. And then they took me down to where it said that what our real job is to give somebody hope. And through selfless sacrifice are the way that we do these things. In the 3rd step, it tells us exactly what our marching orders are. Every time we go into an AA meeting, what we're doing is that we're doing that 3rd step. We're telling somebody how God is working in my life today, how God is working in my life today. That's my director. He's my manager. He's the one that's gonna tell me what to do, where to go, how to do it, when to do it, and all that other kind of stuff. And then and if you're doing the right thing the right way, hey, it's great. You know, I was talking to one of the guys that called me this morning. It was like around 8 o'clock or something like that, and they said, hey, I keep praying for sobriety and for God to keep me sober. And I said, well, why are you doing that? You're already sober. Why are you asking God to keep you sober? Instead, why don't you thank him for the sobriety that you have? And no, I didn't think about that. So what does our real dependence lay? It has to be, for me, it has to be with God. I have to have a relationship with God every day, constantly, or I'm dead. That's
It's a
just that
constant
simple.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the stuff that we hear in the room sometimes is, you can choose. You can choose a God of your own understanding.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not in the big book. It's choose a God if you understand Him. And then all the other stuff that you hear is the reason why we brought away. And I mean, I know our meeting is crucial for me because we talk about the book and we talk about the solution. And when people are sharing, they share a quick war story and then they get right into the solution because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Anybody listening today or watching Rick who's struggling with alcoholism, or parents that have a son or wife or husband that's suffering, what advice would you give them today?
It's funny. One of the worst things that I see, especially a family member do to somebody that's suffering from alcoholism, is to try to hold them up and to enable them and to help them. In other words, they have to find their own way. They're going to have to find their own bottom. They're going to have to hit. So the longer that we try to help them and hope and hold them up, the longer it's going to take for them to get well. You know, I went and I talked to this lady. I met with her a couple of months ago, and she said, "I'm doing everything I can to help my son get sober." And then I told her, "You need to stop.
Yeah.
You need to stop because he's never going to get well if you keep doing that." And it may sound cruel to those of us that don't understand, but it's usually the best course to take, and is to let them crash, let them hit bottom, and then see what you have after that. But that would be, let them find their own way. You have to. For years, my family and God bless them, had got me out of so many pickles. Got me good lawyers and paid for this and paid for that, and got me out of here and got me out of that, and got my car out of the pound, all this other kind of stuff. And then what did I do? I turned right around and did it again.
Of course. No consequences.
Right? And no consequences.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. That's what I think it is.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Rick. It's unbelievable. Thank you for everything that you do, because I know you do a lot for everybody. And before I let Kristen say bye and we get David Ludlow on, I'll see you tomorrow, my good man.
I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Meeting. Yes, sir.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Rick. It was so nice to hear from you.
Thank you. It's been wonderful meeting you. You have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thanks, Rick. David Ludlow's on the show straight after this, guys. Stick around. Good afternoon, guys. It's 12:40 here in San Antonio, Texas. My name's Dr. Rob. They call me the Addiction Doctor, along with Kristen Nolan. This is Breaking Through Addiction. Good afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you're tuning in. I see the audience is growing and growing and growing, which is awesome. David Ludlow, how the devil are you, my good man?
I am good. Glad it's Friday. Just glad it's another day to be sober.
So, just as we start off, tell the audience and the listeners all about you. Give me a 30 seconds to a minute rundown of who David is.
Sure. I was suffering from alcoholism long before I even took a drink. You know, that restless, irritable, discontent child. I was ever good enough, although I had everything I needed. I had this sense of entitlement, and that just kind of, that mindset eventually destroyed me to escape, because I was never comfortable in my own skin. I suffered, I guess, in the sense of an identity crisis. I couldn't, I wanted to be. And so I wore masks my entire life, where I could gel and kind of move around without letting people really get close to me to understand what was going on with me.
Interesting.
Kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah. You said in your bio that you were never comfortable in your own skin. And I was just wondering, do you think that, and that you internalize everything? Why do you think that is?
I don't know why per se. I was just uncomfortable. Just were, again, everything around me was really good, and I could never see that. Maybe I just wasn't grateful. I loving parents. I was provided everything I needed, and it just wasn't enough. I was empty. I think at a young age, we're always trying to find ourselves, and I think that right path. And so when I discovered drugs and alcohol, that was my path. That was my calling, and that at full force, with that. No care in the world, no care about the content. I got in tons and tons and tons of trouble. There was never really big consequences. I knew I would always get bailed out, and although it came from a place of love, from my parents, in the long run, in hindsight, it wasn't doing me any favors until I finally had to hit bottom in 2007. A good, 30 plus year run, trying to figure this thing out, trying to do it my way.
For those guys,
it worked till it wasn't working.
Guys, for those who are just listening or definitely watching, David has a terrible lag. So there's like 2 or 3 seconds in between before he comes in and he's breaking. So bear with us, guys. It will get better as we go along. Over to you, Chris.
Okay, so I just wanted to know what was your thought process on how did you view God as a young person before you came into the program or before your alcoholism took a toll on you?
Sure. I went to church, was involved, in the Methodist church here. My mom was still very active in it. I was in youth stuff, and is when I got disconnected. And when I got disconnected, and as I was still trying to figure that out, but as I got disconnected, and the drugs and alcohol got a hold force, and it was, that's the path I'm going, because that's what makes me feel good instantly. And that's what I wanted.
Yeah, that instant gratification is amazing. Got to have it straight away. Got to have it now. What's the worst thing that happened to you, David, while you were drinking?
Oh gosh. Well, I had 7 felonies as a result of my drinking and drug. That's the silver lining side. But no, there was tons of consequences. And serious ones where I was looking at decades in prison. But that didn't keep me sober either. And I've had lost relationships, lost a very successful business. In the course of 30 years, some things worked and some things didn't. But I always ended up the way to this disease.
Yeah. Can you, I want you to tell us about your mom's ultimatum, because I think that this was like such a huge thing as far as for your sobriety. Just like my mom's the same way. She's like, and I know you said that Al-Anon really helped your mom, but with my mom, it was like, she don't put up with no shit. And I think because my grandma, she's Christian, and she's the one that will help me out of things. But my mom, no.
No, exactly. No, my mom and I had a very toxic relationship from high school, really up until that point I got sober. My dad was my biggest cheerleader and my biggest enabler. And then when my Halloween night 5, I kind of knew that in the back of my mind, probably the game was up a little bit, but I could I knew I could still manipulate her, although very, after my dad passed away, this very code relation. And that went on for a good 10 years, to the point where she finally one day just said, "Hey, I'm not gonna, I'm an only child." And she said, I'm done. And, I'll pay you to go to jail. And I didn't know where any of this was coming from. Like, it came out of left field. I found out later that it was that she'd gone to Al-Anon, and that's what was giving her the courage to stand up to me. But I had no idea. And it was kind of, like that left hook, and it caught me on the jaw, and it was surprising. But she, basically just, look, I'm not gonna watch you kill yourself anymore. I do not want to be a party of it. And, this is your last chance. And if you either figure this out or you don't, and I'm done with you. And she was ready, and she did. I've been sober 4.5 years, and this in March or in April, when I celebrated 4 years, said, I put you back, gonna stick, so that was pretty cool. But no, she was full on dead serious. And when I went to treatment, I had no idea what that was. I never knew anybody that went to treatment. I just knew I had some issues. I didn't think that I had any real problems. I mean, again, that's how delusional I was. And I remember walking into treatment with a huge sense of relief, because I knew probably the gig was up, but also that reservation that, I'm really overreacting, to belong here.
Wow. Yeah, I remember those days. Exactly. It's absolutely terrible. What about today? What do you do today? And how do you maintain your sobriety today with work and private life and family?
It's always a juggle, but what has to be at the forefront of everything is recovery. I have to do the things that I have to do on a daily basis. I don't really worry too much about the future. At last check, I can't really time. So I really do the things that I have to do on a daily basis. Life is pretty darn good today. I mean, I work in the treatment space. I oversee regulatory compliance and a quality assurance program for a behavioral healthcare company, which is coming from a guy like me with my past. The center that I work at is actually where I got sober. We're active in our AA community in Houston. I do everything I can to help. I'm as completely transparent and open about my journey. I like that extra of accountability to the world, and so I don't run from it. I run right towards it. And it's, these gifts and gifts keep just on and piling on to where, if I'm lying somewhere in a hospital bed in a coma, please don't wake me up, because this life I've been right now is what I wanted my entire life, and I don't want to wake up from it. So I just do what I have to do to.
Guys, once again, David's video is just lagging, and there's big gaps in between. Please bear with us, because there is some technical issues going on here. David, what's the best thing you've done to date with your life?
Well, I'm sober today, and that's truly a gift for somebody like me with my past. But I think, as an aggregate, since I've gotten sober, I think just the number of folks that I know I've personally been able to help, people from past that have reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've seen your journey. I knew you before, and you were a train wreck, and I see you're it. And just that, because I'm a very selfish person at my core. I did not help or do any others that was getting something. Mindset today where I don't want anything in return. That's true.
That's beautiful.
Guys, I've got to tell you guys that we're not really getting David, so we're going to let David go, and we're going to book him on, I think, next week when it's clearer, because we're getting every second word, and I really wanted you guys to listen to David's story and everything, because it is really amazing. We've been friends on Facebook for some time now, so awfully sorry, David, going to have to cut you off. We'll get you on next week or the week after. Don't worry about that. But guys, just bear with us. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, guys. This is Breaking Through Addiction. My name is Dr. Rob Kelly, the addiction doctor, along with Kristen Nolan. Wow, I could hardly hear him. What a great story. He's been waiting for weeks to come on the show. What a shame. I felt awful for him, but I kind of got every second word. Was it the same with you?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I don't know if maybe we should start doing like a trial run beforehand so that we can make sure that their connections are good and that they have all of their updates on their computers and things like that. But yeah, that's so unfortunate. I hate when that happens.
I know. Horrible. What have you got planned for this week, Chris?
I'm going to stay on my fitness regimen and I'm going to continue to look for work.
Excellent. And me, well, I fly to Boca Raton on Monday. It's work. We go over there, see a patient over there, and we'll be in sunny Boca Raton, hopefully next week. But we'll be back. But guys, listen to some exciting news, a couple of exciting news. We've got some amazing guests coming up. I want to thank our girl, Courtney D. She's always out there getting some amazing guests. We're also starting a new course for 4 hours a day or 8 hours a day. We haven't decided yet. It's only $100 to stick in. It's going to cover things like early childhood, family systems, trauma, codependency, relationships, alcoholism with trauma, of course, brain spotting, and success for the future, along with NLP and Teen Challenge, all crammed on with 3 presenters, maybe 4 for the day. So it's $100 for the day as we take you through all this. So all the information will be posted on Facebook later today, hopefully. And we're hoping going to start in a couple of weeks, just so people can sit in and learn more about what they need to do. Whether you're a coach, whether you're a therapist, you will benefit from this. We have a lot of knowledge between our team that we can pass forward to you. So I'm looking forward to that. So from me, guys, thank you for tuning in. Some great numbers today joining us every Friday around noon. Myself and Kristen will be on the show with different guests. If you want to be on the show, you don't have to be someone of notoriety. Of course you don't. You have to be like me and Kristen, someone who's suffering from the disease and now recovered from a whole state of mind and body. And you can come on. So if you're a housewife sat at home and you're thinking, well, I kind of love to, but nobody wants to listen to me, I want to tell you, you're wrong. Absolutely wrong. Everybody's got a story and everybody can benefit from your story. The slightest little word can change somebody's life, because that's what it's about. It's about changing lives on a daily basis. And if we don't do that, what are we doing? So for me, guys, before I hand over to Chris for bye-bye, I want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for keeping safe out there. And remember, guys, empowered people.
Yep. Thank you guys so much. Have a blessed, beautiful day.
Bye, guys.